I think he and Dean were taking the approach of be careful about this, but I think that in the end, Sam did himself a disservice by not using his powers more.
Yeah.
In the early days.
Well, Dean wouldn't have let him.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Dean, he's with him all the time. He wouldn't have let him.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. It is on Dean a little bit.
A lot.
A lot, mostly. Yeah.
Sam was in fear for his life. Not exactly from Dean, but just in general.
Ava, she started having dreams, but now she can control demons, which is what she's doing with the Akiri demon. And Jake comes up behind Ava and snaps her neck. Doesn't take bench pressing 800 pounds to be able to do that. Sam could have did that. Dean and Bobby get to the point where they can't drive anymore, so they're walking the rest of the way, which means we still have time to have one more fight. Jake had a vision of the yellow-eyed demon, same as Sam, and he now knows that only one of them can go there, and Jake's like, I can kill the demon. And I'm like, bro, Sam knew all about the demons before we got here. He told you he does this for an actual living. Again, I get you have to go through with this fight because you don't want to be the person who dies, but don't pretend that you want to be the one to live because you can kill the demon. You're the least equipped of the two people here to kill the demon.
True.
That is true. Mostly I'm just mad because Ava died and she had just gotten so interesting.
Yes.
I know. I liked her. I love Catherine Isabel and anything she's in.
Me too. Oh my god, she was in an episode of Ghosts and her character was also about to get married and it was a good time.
Ginger Snaps is my favorite werewolf movie of all time, other than American Werewolf in London, obviously.
Jake is pretending that he's all righteous, I'll kill the demon. And I'm like, okay, Jake, whatever. I respect not wanting to die. All the respect for that. I just don't respect pretending that you don't want to die for some greater good reason. Mm-hmm. And the truth is you just don't want to be dead.
Which is a good reason. A fair reason.
Yeah, that's a valid reason. Don't pretend that you're better equipped than Sam to kill demons. Sam's only killed demons the last 2 years. Sam disarms like an idiot. They talk this through and Sam puts down his knife, so Jake puts down his iron bar, and then Jake just hits Sam in the face. It's not a fair fight, Sam. This guy told you he can bench press 800 pounds without breaking a sweat.
Should have worked on your telekinesis, Sam.
Should have. Could have thrown him across the room.
Sam flies 10 feet and through a fence. And Sam and Jake then have this wild fight that makes no sense. Every hit from Jake should be broken bones and internal injuries for Sam, which is why I want to talk about how I think part of Sam's powers is the ability to mirror the other children. Because he starts out having dreams like Ava. He has telekinesis like Max in that one episode. Now he's as strong as Jake because he is hitting Jake and doing damage. Jake is strong.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But also a trained soldier because we know Sam could take out trained guys. Sam took out 2 arm SWAT guys at once on his own. But this guy is demonically strong. And it just doesn't make sense that they have this fight, that this fight lasts more than that one hit. Because Sam should just be dead after getting hit in the face.
I don't think this is what the writers intended, but it doesn't matter because I like this theory.
There is a very strong theory, Sam and Ava were twins theory that I'm a big fan of because they're the only 2 other special children that have the same powers, and the only other 2 that share powers were Andy and Ansem, who were twins.
How would that have worked, though?
It means someone's adopted.
Yeah, but I don't see Mary. Well, unless she had to give up one of her children.
It doesn't make any sense. Really.
It doesn't make any sense. No,
it doesn't make any sense. But powers-wise, it makes sense.
But if it was what's it called? Is it Rumpelstiltskin or which one is it that they have to give up their firstborn child?
That's Rumpelstiltskin.
Yes. Okay.
But then Dean Winchester exists.
Well, maybe not their firstborn, but her firstborn, after.
Yeah.
Your lastborn.
Your lastborn. Yeah, she could be the younger one. Yeah. Well, they're this 23 in one day, or something.
Sam knocks Jake out with his metal pipe, but he can't bring himself to kill it. And I'm like, Sam, babe, it is okay sometimes. Sometimes it is okay to finish the job. It's fine. Sam hears Dean yelling for him, and so he starts walking in that direction. But Jake wakes up and he grabs the knife that Sam just left on the ground, and he stabs Sam in the back and takes off running.
In the back? That's a coward's move, Jake.
It's not even that he stabs Sam in the back. He stabs and cuts. He
stabs in the...
He's
He said in
thorough.
the next episode that he went out of the way to sever Sam's spinal cord. Like he was killing Sam. I'm like, Sam, I get you could have killed him and avoided all of this.
It's victim blaming.
It's
He got
not Sam's
stabbed in the
fault.
spine.
Usually I'm like, Sam, be a good person and be extra nice. This is not one of those days. And
No.
that's really not fair.
No.
Dean catches Sam and Bobby goes running after Jake. And there's just this heartbreaking scene where Dean is talking to Sam, but he's talking at Sam because Sam's gone already, about how like it's not that bad and I'm gonna look after you. And he's just holding him and oh, my heart.
So much angst.
I cry every single time I see that scene. Every single time. It doesn't matter how many times I've seen it. I'm just like,
I know.
It's like, oh gosh, she's never coming back.
Bawling. I know there's 15 seasons, but
This
every
scene
time.
doesn't get me as much as the like opening scenes in the next episode that pick up like after this.
Oh
But,
yeah, that too. That
Those
too.
are pretty extreme. Yeah.
And the only other thing I want to note before we get out of the recap is that it ends with Dean yelling for Sam, like full, just like screaming for Sam. And that audio is used at the end of season 3. It's the exact same audio. It's fine. Meredith's face.
It's all right. We're good.
But yeah, that's how the episode ends. Like to be continued because this is a 2-parter. So we're gonna go into our weekly segments and panels, and then next week we're gonna figure out what happens from here. This episode doesn't really have an ending for that reason. Death counts this week was a little heavy on the death.
A little heavy.
Emotionally, yeah.
Like literally had to go in order. We had Ash, Lily, Andy, Ava, at least one other person at the Roadhouse, probably more, and Sam Winchester.
Oh.
Rare on-screen total to 196, and the on and off-screen total for this episode was those 6. Plus, I just estimated how many people Ava had killed. I said like maybe say 3 or 4 a month, and it's been like 5 months. So I'm just gonna say 20 other people that Ava's killed, and then like there's a plus for anyone else in the Roadhouse. We have no idea how many people were in the Roadhouse. We saw at least one other person besides Ash, but
Oh, that's fun.
for now we're gonna say 26 plus on the off-screen total, and so that total for the show is now 1,346 plus.
Are we counting deaths that are permanent, or are we just counting deaths that we see? Because like a lot of people come back to life on this show.
Yeah, I debated about that. This is the first time Sam's ever actually like died, so I counted it. I don't count ghosts as like an additional death. I think people coming back to life might have to count as an extra, like as an additional death. I think that's the only way to.
Okay.
Okay, I think the answer to that is going to be situational depending on the person.
Okay. That's fair.
And like how back to life they are. Like we didn't count that girl from episode 4 of the season that like came back as a zombie. Like we did not count her as an additional death because she died and then she was dead and then she was a zombie.
Yeah. And then, they dealt with the zombie.
Yeah, like a zombie is not really back to life. A zombie is zombie.
A zombie.
That's a monster. We don't count monster death. For now, I think it depends on the situation of how back to life the person was. And I think it depends how long they were back to life, at least for me.
I love that we have to have this discussion.
We're going to continue having this discussion as time goes on.
Yep.
So let's go MVP of the week. Meredith, who would you like to nominate as this week's MVP?
Bobby, Sam, and Dean were all working pretty hard, but I'm going to give it to Sam because he was the one who was trapped in a ghost town.
He really did pull his resources together.
He was
on
doing
this
his
one.
very best with a bunch of people who just didn't want to do their best because they were rightfully panicking.
Yeah, that's fair. Jordan, how about you? Who would you like to nominate?
I would like to nominate Andy.
Okay,
Posthumously. What? I don't know the word.
Posthumously?
That.
Yeah, I wanted to split mine between Sam and Andy. So yeah, Sam and Andy have a point each.
Yay!
Yeah.
And he deserves it.
Yeah, Andy got the word out to Dean and Bobby where they were. Like,
Yeah.
that was important. That was an important thing. Bechdel test. Did we have 2 named women in this episode? Yeah, we did. We had Ava and Lily. Did they talk to one another? They did. Was that conversation about something other than a man? I think they talked about their powers.
Oh, okay. That
Okay.
counts.
I'm willing to let this pass on a barely. It's the end of the season.
It passes Bechtel, but not barrier gaze.
This week, the case of the week was demons. I think Meredith may have did some research on the Akiri demon.
I did.
Yeah, let's hear that.
All right, I'm just going to pronounce it as Akiri because I didn't find find a pronunciation online. I didn't find very much at all online. Not very many reliable articles, so take everything I'm about to say with a grain of salt. Okay, so they are Hindu or Native American or both. It's unclear. Supposedly it's unclear because the story was spread by Western colonizers, and we don't know if they were talking about India or Native American tribes, as usual. But so the story is unverified, but it's like they're the spirits of murdered or abused little girls, or girls who died of plague, or all three. As such, they appear as little girls to their victims. Not normal little girls, though. They're like skeletal and they have creepy dark eyes. I'm assuming this means their sclera is dark, since having dark irises in India is nothing to write home about. One article mentioned that they have long claw-like fingers, which supports those super cool talons we saw in the episode. Very happy about that. Another theory is that they were never human and merely disguised themselves as little girls to gain the trust of the living so they can spread disease easier. Anyway, they skulk around at night and they bring plague to small children and sometimes the elderly. Apparently they spread disease to those who touch their shadows or those they have cast their shadow upon, quote unquote. This could be literal or it could be a poetic turn of phrase. As I said, I didn't find a lot. They're omens of death like banshees, so seeing or hearing one means you're going to die soon. And apparently you can ward them off by tying a red thread, strip of cloth, or string of beads around your neck, in case you were wondering, in case the Winchester.
So much easier than salting the whole room.
Right.
It is, isn't it?
It's a lot of salt.
Yeah. The Wikipedia article also said they were called hill fairies, but I don't think that's true because the other articles I found said these guys were like Indian or Native American and fairies are Celtic. So if they were called hill fairies, it was probably by Western colonizers. Also, technically most fairies are hill fairies because they were said to live under ancient burial mounds. Anyway, colonization is bad for many reasons, but it's also really annoying to historians. And I'm a little shocked that this is only my first time researching creepy little girls for this podcast.
It's weird that it took you 2 seasons for that.
Yeah, like what is going on?
Thank you, Meredith. That was all very great. I was like, why am I researching this week? And I was like, there's this one specific demon that's mentioned a couple times that shows up in this episode, and like, I don't know, you could also like do ghost towns or something. Demons are good.
Yes. Definitely not the usual kind of demon we see on this show, especially because it's got no connection to Christianity.
Yeah, and also like more ghost-like than a lot of other demons that we've seen. But that was fun. I did like the little girl with the talons. She was appropriately scary for this episode.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Always a fan of talons.
Our next segment is low light and highlight, and let's start with Jordan.
Low light, Sam dying. That was pretty bad. Highlight, Dean having to deal with visions. Just about as fun as getting kicked in the balls.
That was also my highlight, was Bobby talking Dean through his visions. Like, oh, gee, you sound exactly like Sam when he has a vision and Sam's missing. Maybe these two things are related, Dean.
No!
Meredith, did you have a low light and a highlight?
I always do. Okay, low light was Andy and Ash dying because they're not coming back. And highlight, I like Bobby being a dad. Also, I like all the special children plot stuff because, like, it's interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was my highlight and my low light. Also, so my low light was Meredith's low light, and my highlight was Jordan's highlight. It's fine.
It's fun stuff.
Call CPS. There was only demon children this episode. I think we're free and clear of CPS.
Although if that is like a real Akiri, then she had a terrible life.
Yeah, probably. Mental health check. I'm not a psychologist. This segment is based purely on my own opinions. Weekly reminder, if you were struggling with anything else, please reach out for help. And when I say please reach out for help, I do mean please reach out for help to a mental health professional. Someone I follow on TikTok who has a pretty big following got a message from someone that they were going to harm themselves and they didn't see it for a couple days, and then that made their own mental health like way worse. Because just don't do that to people. Don't be like, I'm always happy to talk, but if you're actually genuinely like struggling or you like actually are worried that you're gonna harm yourself, please don't put that in my inbox.
Yeah,
I am not qualified to help you in any way with that.
Even if you can't reach out to a therapist, reach out to someone you actually know in real life instead of like a person on the internet.
Yeah, you can always go to an emergency room like
that too.
And there's always BetterHelp.
We are not sponsored by BetterHelp, and we will not be name dropping them until they give me some freaking money.
Give KJ some money.
If they want to give me some money like they give all the other podcasts, I will happily talk about them. Until that happens, they don't get any free advertising from me.
Someday we'll get there. We'll be advertising Skillshare with the best of them.
Or the earbuds that everybody's pitching.
Oh yeah, I haven't heard that one in a long time.
The Raycons.
Yeah, the Raycons.
I have some. I love them.
We're gonna edit that out until they give us money.
Sorry.
Okay, we have 3 more segments together.
Sorry.
We got this.
Sam's traumatic brain injury. He didn't technically get knocked out. I think this one's a pass.
All right.
That's true. He was stabbed in the back.
Yeah, he got stabbed in the back and full on died.
So much
but
better.
He didn't hit his head.
I mean, actually, I don't know. He got his spinal cord cut. That's not good for your brain.
It's not great, but it's not a traumatic brain injury. Dean even caught him, so that even once he was dead, he didn't hit his head. Like he didn't even hit his